Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the third and final battle of the best of 3 between Stratgames and Gotrek Starbreaker on the Warpstone Cup. In this battle here, Stratgames will be going for a Tzeentch army of a front line of Marauders of Tzeentch backed up by a single Sour Guts and a ton of mobility. 4 Chaos Furies of Tzeentch and a couple Chaos Knights plus 2 more Marauder Horsemen of Tzeentch. Leading the army, an Exalted Lord of Change with pink and blue fire spam and a Portal Glyph ability cast. And on the other side of the battlefield, a ton of mobility over Beastmen, but not a single infantry, mostly just mobility and monstrous presence. A bunch of Chaos Warhounds with poison backed up by Sentinels and Tzeentch. Same goes for the other side, and in the core of the army, Butchers of Kalkengard, Incarnate Elemental of Beast, and a single Cygor leading the army, Malagor the Dark Omen with Doom and Darkness, Flock of Doom, and the Something Wicked This Way Comes ability, providing a total of -20 leadership if stacked with the Doom and Darkness spell. Really good for triggering early demonic instability. Now let's get the battle started, as Cygor will be aiming down those Tzeentch troops. The question is whether it can actually land the hits with his rocks, since the accuracy of the Cygor is a bit questionable, but it seems that the hit lands and the Flock of Doom is draining away the hit points of the Marauders and the Sour Guts. Malagor though straying too close to the enemy formation and eating a blue fire, so took some damage over there. Seeing the Beastmen only have mobility and monsters, the Furies are moving up, possibly trying to scout out any hidden Ungors around the area. But this time, Sentinels and Warhounds are enough to fulfill the minimal troop count, so there are no Ungor infantry on the field. All the scouting flyers end up not discovering anything new. Marauders are backing up since they don't want to run headfirst into enemy monsters. Pink Horrors are opening fire at the Incarnate Elemental of Beast, and as a massive target with not much armor, it's actually quite susceptible to enemy magic missiles, relying on the physical resistance and whatnot. So yeah, the Incarnate Elemental of Beast is taking a ton of damage, while the Marauders of Tzeentch absolutely plowed through by a ton of Butchers, the Tzeentch, Chaos Warhounds all piling in. The Chaos Knights are charging down the Warhounds and the regular Sentinels, but the Sentinels are in the fray, starting to do some AP damage. Marauders are routing, being hit by a leadership debuff of Howl of the Great Beast, but for some reason, an explosion effect occurred. Not quite sure what happened there, but it seems that that effect doesn't really affect the battle at all. On the other side, the Beastman push is faltering, the Warhounds are being driven back, so the Sentinels are forced to pull back. The Beastmen mobility are disengaging from one flank because their focus is on the monsters, who are making some really good progress. Malagor is trapped, but the Butchers and the Incarnate Elemental of Beast are just ravaging all the Tzeentch units in the vicinity. Even the Chaos Knight have been routed under so much AP pressure. On the far side, their Sentinels are trying to run away from Furies, but they're taking more and more damage. Cygor has been dragged into melee combat, especially with some Marauders of Tzeentch with spears moving in to drag it down. The Tzeentch here, though, being overloaded completely by the Tzeentch mobility. This is going to be rough for them, especially with the Portal Glyph summon to really trap down these betrayers of Tzeentch. These Tzeentch are going to be routed, partially due to the presence of the Exalted Greater Demon. But Malagor is paying back in kind, dropping an overcast area of the effect version of Doom and Darkness, covering both of the Marauder Horsemen. That actually dropped their leadership low enough for a terror rout to occur, all thanks to the nearby presence of the Incarnate Elemental of Beast. Butchers of Kalkengard are also in the fray, and yeah, Beastman is getting an upper hand over here. But the rest of the army, though, Tzeentch does have a bit of advantage. Cygor is getting dragged down, getting lower and lower. Another blue fire cast from the Exalted Lord of Change, but the Malagor Dark Omen evasive maneuver, dodging most of those blue fire projectiles. Masterful juking from Gotrek Starbreaker there. Marauder Horsemen being caught out by the Tzeentch and the Chaos Warhounds also means that they'll be quickly routed. Chaos Furies trying desperately to save them, but that's not going to matter, as the pursuit behavior of the Warhounds were enough to finish off most of the Horsemen's HP. The Incarnate Elemental of Beast mostly ignoring the minions, pushing back the Exalted Lord of Change using the Howl of the Great Beast to reduce enemy leadership and speed, helping the Incarnate Elemental keep up with the Exalted Lord of Change. Malagor continues to stay in the skies, as he does not want to risk getting tied down on the ground, especially when the Chaos Knights are charging in. The Tzeentch Knights are trying to save their lord, but they're getting hit by a Flock of Doom. And the charge of all these AP units, the Incarnate Elemental of Beast, the Tzeentch, and even the Butchers of Kalkengard are in the vicinity, doing massive damage to the Chaos Knights of Tzeentch. Warhounds are coming in to chase them down as well, so the Tzeentch Knights are forced to pull back. The rest of the Tzeentch army are taking substantial damage and is falling a bit behind on the balance of power, but perhaps the blue fire spam can pull this back as it is a very strong skirmishing tool. Anyways, Chaos Knights of Tzeentch continues to pull back as they do not want to fight the Butchers of Kalgengard in melee. Marauders of Tzeentch will come in and screen away the Beastman monster, Flock of Doom draining away the hit point of the surrounding Tzeentch troops, so doing some pretty nice damage there, and a massive pitch engagement is commencing. Beastman's Warhounds are running off, but the Marauders are not holding on for too long as well. Tandagor's charge once again and will be routing off the Marauders, though they themselves are being terror-routed by the presence of the Tzeentch Greater Demon. It is now a duel between two monsters, Incarnate Elemental of Beast versus the Exalted Lord of Change, and the Exalted Lord of Change without that kind of anti-large stats that the Incarnate has. He will be falling a bit short in terms of melee power and will be forced to pull back. At the back there, Tandagors and the Chaos Warhounds trying to pile onto the Sourguts and shut down that valuable firepower of Tzeentch, but they have been countered by the Chaos Knights and Marauders quickly being shattered. Another blue fire onto Malagor the Dark Omen, but he is masterfully juking once again. A lot of the projectiles are ended up on the Furies instead of Malagor, doing some damage to him in the end still, but not as much as one would have expected. Malagor lives to fight for a bit longer as he is using the Furies of Tzeentch to body block for him. The Incarnate Elemental of Beast once again in the duel against the Exalted Lord of Change as the Exalted Lord of Change tries to Psycho Charge the Beastman monster. Butchers of Kalgengard unstoppable though, routing away unit after unit of the Marauder infantry as they cannot stand in front of the terror of the Beastman monster. The Tzeentch Marauders are quite beaten up, dropping low in both leadership and HP, so as soon as the Butchers simply walk over, that should be enough to see these Marauders off. They would just quickly run off, just like these Marauders here, still are not returning. Tzeentch Fury is trying desperately to save the Marauders of Tzeentch, but with the Butchers incoming, they need to back out of the fight. Perhaps they can do a bit more damage to the Tandagors, but that's the most they can do. Cygor somehow is still living on, and now chugging rocks as the Chaos Knights of Tzeentch. Not a bad target at all with the massive AP missile strength. Another blue fire from the Exalted Lord of Change, this time going after the Incarnate Elemental of Beast here, trying to finish off the Mortis Engine machine before it finishes off more of the Tzeentch remaining units. A bluff fight in the late game against a terror-causing and Mortis Engine monster is not great for any army whatsoever, so finishing off the Incarnate Elemental of Beast is definitely a right choice. Butchers are a little bit too far away from saving their big beastie monsters, so they will have to watch the Exalted Lord of Change run away in front of them. Another rock throw from the Cygor, doing some really nice kills here, knocking down 3 unit models of the Tzeentch Knight. And in the skies, Malagor continues to fly around, probably just trying to look for the next unit to drop a Flock of Doom too, and also trying to avoid the Chaos Furies. Another blue fire onto the Cygor this time, trying to eliminate the Beastman's AP firepower. And yeah, it seems that it is quite successful so far. The Cygor has been routed away, with the Butchers being distracted by some Marauders on the far side. Warhounds charging into the Marauders of Tzeentch here. But that also means that they are susceptible to a charge from the Chaos Furies and they'll be shattered away. Malagor is now surrounded by enemy flying combatants and will need to get out of that as soon as possible before the Chaos Knights tie him down in melee combat. Now the Chaos Knights are coming in, but the Butchers are also returning to the fray here. Exalted Lord of Change trying to put another couple hits onto Malagor, but Malagor lives as being a Footlord. He can get knocked over without taking any damage at all. Marauders will now be targeted by the Butchers of Kalgengard. They probably should have raced for the charge instead of trying to run away, because right now they're just taking a free charge from the Butchers of Kalgengard and will be quickly routed off. Tzeentch Knights charging in to help out the Furies against the Butchers, and another blue fire onto Malagor, once again missing. This is the third missing blue fire. Gotrek Starbreaker either is extremely lucky at dodging those blue fires, or he has figured out how to consistently dodge them, or a bit of mixture of both. So far, 5 shots of blue fire onto Malagor and 3 have been dodged. Now Malagor continues to fight on as the Butchers of Kalgengard reinforce, providing him with some elite bodyguards. Malagor dodging those blue fire is really clutch, keeping the Beastman leadership alive and also forcing Tzeentch to spend more resources onto the Lord Snipe instead of targeting the Butchers of Kalgengard, who are still very much healthy and are unstoppable due to how tattered the Tzeentch units are. Another blue fire onto Malagor the Dark Omen, but as he takes off from the ground, the flight path of Malagor actually works in his favor as he manages to dodge most of the blue fire projectiles. I don't even know if this is intentional or is it just a lucky coincidence because Malagor was taking off automatically simply because he was disengaging the ground units. Now Malagor goes after the Tzeentch Knights while Furies are trying to stop him. But the Tzeentch Knights are getting some barrier back and might be able to return for another charge, but the problem for Tzeentch really is how to finish off this very healthy unit of Butchers of Kalkengard that has only lost one unit model so far and is still healing up. Another blue fire and once again another dodge from Malagor the Dark Omen. Really unfortunate timing for Tzeentch here. Once again launching the spell just as Malagor is about to take off from the ground. At this point, Stratgames is like, fuck it, I'm just gonna drop a Bolt of Change on Malagor. The speed and angle of the bombardment and the tracking of the projectile means that it is much more difficult to dodge this tier 2 Tzeentch army ability. Malagor took a big hit in the face and might just get routed by the Tzeentch Furies. But still the main problem are these regenerating Butchers of Kalkengard, but perhaps if there are enough blue fire spam, the Tzeentch army can still take this back. Balance of fire is in favor of Beastmen, but mostly because the Butchers are holding on just fine. Malagor, though, now routed, will not be able to juke away from blue fires anymore, but the blue fire, whether they can finish him off, it's a question here. And it seems like the answer is no, as multiple projectiles passes him. Usually the blue fire is pretty good at tracking, but still, even when Malagor wasn't dodging, the small unit model of this guy means that a lot of the blue fire struggles to land a hit on him as he is running away or flying away. And so Malagor lives with 98 HP. The Exalted Lord of Change has cast like, what, 6 or 7 blue fire onto Malagor, and Malagor has dodged most of them. That could have done some substantial damage on the other parts of the battlefield, but no. Malagor just absorbed a lot of the firepower. If the blue fire, for example, goes into the Butchers of Kalkengard here, due to their fire weakness of the regeneration trait, they can actually take a lot of damage and things will be a bit more even between the two sides. But because Malagor distracted so much blue fire spam from the Exalted Lord of Change, the Exalted Lord of Change was not able to dish out as much damage. 2000 damage, still nothing to scoff at all. But yeah, imagine what the Lord of Change could have done if he spent those blue fires onto other targets like the Butchers of Kalkengard. Finally, Malagor has shattered and his job on the battlefield is done. Now the Lord of Change can concentrate the blue fires onto the Butchers of Kalkengard. Now that the Butchers are standing still and eating the shot, that you can see put quite a bit of a dent on their HP bar. Without any units engaged in melee combat, the Furies will have to dive down with the Exalted Lord of Change, but they are just waiting for a perfect moment for that sandwiching charge, and now Furies dive in. Exalted Lord of Change will be doing some psycho charging. Butchers of Kalkengard had no choice but to eat the charge in the face, and they're taking some noticeable damage on the charge, but the Furies are quickly dropping in terms of HP as the Butchers fight back. Now the Exalted Lord of Change is eating damage, but the Tzeentch barrier is helping it tank some hits right here. So the Exalted Lord of Change really needs to pull out of the fight and maybe drop another blue fire if he has the magic to do so, and then start psycho charging again. Furies dive back in, but they're just taking so much damage from the elite regiment of Renowned Minotaur. Another blue fire is coming in. Let's see how much damage it does. About 1/8 of their HP, maybe 1/10 of their HP gone from that shot. And now, without the Furies tying down the Butchers to fulfill the attacking role, the Exalted Lord of Change needs to charge in against these elite Minotaurs. We'll keep the HP bar up as the two units duke it out in this one final engagement. Unfortunately, this might just be the end of the Exalted Lord of Change, as he is not exactly a great combatant. Still 50 attack, 50 defense, nothing too bad, but the Butchers are just better. 59 attack, 56 defense, and also having more entities and just great weapon strength in general. The Exalted Lord of Change is taking more and more damage, dropping a pink fire, trying probably to get some more points for the army ability, but that probably doesn't matter at this point. The health bar of the Tzeentch Greater Demon is getting lower and lower, and soon army losses kicks in, giving Gotrek Starbreaker as the Beastman player the win. GG to both Stratgames and Gotrek Starbreaker for such a close battle and an amazing best of 3, and congratulations to Gotrek Starbreaker for the win. This battle in particular really came down to Malagor dodging so many blue fire spam from the Exalted Lord of Change. I think he dodged like, what, 5 or 6 out of 8 blue fires that were shot at him. absorbing a lot of those winds of magic and damage output from the Exalted Lord of Change. Even after so many dodges from Malagor, the Exalted Lord of Change still got 2,600 gold worth of damage value. Imagine if those blue fires actually land on Malagor. That probably would have killed the Beastman leader at like the 4th or 5th cast, but because the projectiles have been evaded, Malagor survived, and that forced the Tzeentch Lord to drop even more blue fires onto Malagor instead of the other parts of the battlefield, like the Butchers of Kalkengod. You see in the end there, the Butchers took quite a bit of damage from just 2 casts of the blue fire spell. If there are more shots coming in their way, they probably could not have held up as good in the late game. And of course, there's also going to be the leadership debuff from Malagor being dead, but because Malagor survived all those blue fires, Beastmen were able to fight on and bring down the Tzeentch army. Overall, very solid value from both the Butchers and the Incarnate Elemental of Beast. The rest of the army also pulled their weight, mostly, I suppose, not all of them. The Hounds did okay. The Sargor is pretty much an overpriced piece of artillery, so not really worth its cost. The rest of the mobility also not doing too well here, mostly one Zandagor, the 2 big monster centerpieces here, the Incarnate Elemental and the Butchers carrying the day for Beastmen. Malagor mostly just absorbing those winds of magic and blue fire output, while the Tzeentch army, the Exalted Lord of Change almost carried the game, but not quite enough to turn the tide, while the rest of the army unfortunately just not trading really well into the Beastman army here, except the Sour Guts getting some really solid damage value, but that's about it here. The rest of the Tzeentch Marauders simply got terrified by all those giant monsters, the Incarnate Elemental of Beast and the Butchers of Kalkengod. That's it for today's battle. I hope you all enjoyed this best of 3 action between Stratgames and Gotrek Starbreaker. If you want to see more Total War Warhammer multiplayer action, be sure to subscribe to my channel. And yeah, that's it for today. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Tactical Lich, signing out.